Before you listen any further, ask yourself one thing. If a body has no heartbeat, no breath, no soul left inside, then what exactly is answering you back? Welcome back to Scary Nights by Malik. Tonight, I'm taking you somewhere most people never walk into alone, the morgue. 3 real incidents, 3 different people, but each one left behind a question no one has been able to explain. You don't understand silence until you've stood inside a morgue freezer after midnight. It's not quiet, it's thick, like the air itself is holding its breath. I was working part-time maintenance at a small coroner's office in northern Pennsylvania. 6 freezer drawers, 1 walk-in cold room for overflow, and a boss who chain-smoked through autopsies. Locals said the building used to be a church basement before it burned down in the 1950s. I laughed at that, until the night I had to fix the freezer. It was raining, of course. Cold, heavy, November rain. Dr. Larkin, my supervisor, called me in after hours. "Compressor's failing again," he said. "If it shuts down overnight, we'll have a mess by morning." By the time I got there, it was almost 10. The halls were dark except for that sick yellow emergency light. Larkin handed me the keys and said, "Just the walk-in unit. Shouldn't take long," then he left. That room was all the way in the back. No windows, no sound except the low hum of the freezer fans. But the second I opened that door, I knew something was wrong. It was too cold. Not mechanical cold, unnatural cold. The kind that seeps into your bones and makes your breath sting. There were 7 covered bodies on metal tables. The lights flickered like they didn't want to stay on. I set down my tools and started checking the compressor. It growled under my hand, like something alive was stuck inside. Then I heard it. Click. I turned. One of the gurney wheels had shifted. I tried to laugh it off. Rubber catching on tile, that's all. But then, another sound. A slow, wet thump. And another. Footsteps. Soft, dragging. Coming from the far end of the room. "Dr. Larkin," I called out. Even though I knew he'd gone home, the footsteps stopped. I held my breath waiting, and then I saw it. One of the white sheets, the one closest to the wall, started moving. Just a twitch at first, then the upper half of the body sat up. I froze. The sheet slid down, and underneath was a man, pale as frost. His chest wasn't rising, but his eyes were open, glassy, and fixed right on me. Then his head turned. The bones in his neck cracked like dry twigs. That broke me. I bolted for the door, slammed into it, grabbed the handle, locked. I pulled harder. It wouldn't budge. Behind me, I heard the sound of more sheets shifting. 1, 2, then 3. I turned, just enough to see movement, limbs twisting under white cloth, slow and deliberate. My flashlight slipped from my hand and rolled across the floor. The beam caught something pale, bare feet stepping onto the tiles, frost spreading out from beneath them like veins. The light flickered once, then went out. I don't remember how long I stood there, shaking, pressed against the door. The sound of footsteps grew louder, closer, until something tapped against the metal right beside my ear. Then nothing. Total silence. When the door finally opened, I fell backward into the hallway. It was Dr. Larkin. He said the alarm had gone off. The motion sensor near the back door had triggered. He'd come to check. He found me half frozen, mumbling about bodies moving. He laughed, told me shock can play tricks on your head. But then we looked at the door. The handle, on the inside, was covered in frost. And there was a handprint. A perfect human handprint pressed into the metal. The bodies? All still there, all flat, nothing missing. But when they checked the hallway camera, the footage showed something else. At exactly 10:47 p.m., the same time my flashlight died, You can see cold mist seeping from under the freezer door, and right in the center of it, for one frame, there's a figure. Bare feet, no shirt, head tilted sideways like a broken puppet. They shut down the morgue a year later. Structural damage from humidity, they said. But the locals know. Now it's abandoned, boarded up. Yet on cold nights, you can see frost on the inside of the windows, like something breathing against the glass. Sometimes, delivery drivers swear they hear a faint knock from behind the back door. Once, someone left the lights on overnight. By morning, the bulbs were burned out, and 7 white sheets were hanging from the ceiling, frozen stiff like they'd been lifted by invisible hands. If you ever hear footsteps in a morgue freezer, don't turn around. The living never walk that slow. People think morgues are scary because of the bodies. They're wrong. The dead don't scare you. It's the feeling that something in that room doesn't belong, and it isn't you. I worked night shifts at a county morgue outside Richmond for almost 6 years. I'd seen it all. Burn victims, drownings, car wrecks. You stop flinching after a while, until her, the girl from the river. She came in on a Sunday night in late March, drowned, they said. Her car was found at the edge of the James River, door open, purse still inside, mid-20s, brown hair, soft features. She looked peaceful, almost. The tag on her toe read, Miller, Clara. We logged her in around midnight, drawer 14, nothing out of the ordinary. The coroner, Dr. Finch, told me to keep her until the family could identify her the next morning. That was the plan. Around 2:15 a.m., the lights started to flicker. Happens sometimes during storms, old wiring, old building, but that night, it wasn't the lights that got to me. It was the sound, a soft tapping, slow, steady, coming from the drawers. I looked up from my paperwork. The tapping stopped. Then, a few seconds later, tap, tap, tap. I followed the sound down the row until I realized it was coming from drawer 14. My stomach sank. I stood there for a moment, listening. It was quiet again. Just the hum of the freezer units and the buzz of the ceiling lights. I almost convinced myself it was just metal contracting in the cold. Almost. Then the drawer handle moved. Just a twitch, like someone had brushed against it from the inside. Jesus, I whispered under my breath. My first instinct was to call Finch. But before I could move, something hit the metal from the inside. Hard. Once. Twice. I stumbled back, nearly knocking over a stool. Then, silence. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't. I had to see. I grabbed a flashlight, unlatched the drawer, and pulled it out halfway. The sheet was still covering her face, neat and tucked. I hesitated, then lifted it just enough to see. She was still, eyes closed. Same pale lips, same stitched wrist tag. Except her other hand was missing the toe tag. It had fallen off. I spotted it on the floor beneath the drawer. I bent down to pick it up, and the flashlight flickered. For just a second, I saw her reflection in the metal panel above me. Her eyes were open. I jumped back, dropping the light. The beam rolled across the floor, cutting through the dark. She was lying flat again, eyes closed. I slammed the drawer shut, locked it twice, and sat down, shaking. I don't know how long I stayed there, just listening to the rain. At 3:07 a.m., the motion alarm near the hall triggered. Someone was walking outside the freezer room. I grabbed the intercom. Security? Anyone in the basement? The radio crackled. Negative. Cameras show no movement except there was movement. I could hear footsteps, slow, barefoot, shuffling across the tiles. They stopped right outside my door. I held my breath. Then the door creaked open on its own, just an inch. A gust of cold air swept through the room. When I looked down, something slid across the floor and stopped at my boot. The toe tag. The same one I'd picked up minutes ago. Only now, the name wasn't Miller, Clara. It was mine. Harris, David. I don't remember leaving the room. The next thing I knew, I was outside in the rain, sitting in my car, engine running. When I went back inside the next morning with Dr. Finch, drawer 14 was empty. He thought I'd misfiled her, but the logs were correct. Clara Miller was gone. No trace, no camera footage. The drawer hadn't been opened since my shift. The only thing left behind was a single, wet footprint near the door. And in the logbook, someone had written one line beneath her name, "Tag returned." They shut that section of the morgue down a month later. Every tech who worked nights started reporting the same thing. Tapping sounds, drawers sliding open, toe tags missing. I quit soon after. But sometimes, when I can't sleep, I still hear that faint tap, tap, tap sound in my head. Last week, I heard it again, coming from my bedroom closet. I checked, nothing there. But when I turned the light back on, there was something on my nightstand. A white toe tag, string still tied. My name written in black ink. Don't ever pick up what falls from a drawer in a morgue, because if it has your name on it, it means they've already made room for you. You'd be surprised how quiet a morgue gets after midnight. No footsteps, no carts, no chatter from the day staff. Just that faint, buzzing hum of the ceiling lights and the sound of the freezer compressors kicking in every few minutes. I used to work nights at St. Mark's Hospital in the basement morgue. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well. And to be honest, the dead were easier to deal with than the living. That is, until the night of drawer 9. It was a Friday in late November. Rain pounding outside, thunder rolling through the parking lot vents. Power flickered twice that evening, and we all joked that the backup generator would probably give out right when we needed it most. My shift partner, Glenn, left around 11:30 to grab coffee from upstairs, said he'd be back in 10 minutes. I was alone, just me, the rain, and 37 covered bodies resting quietly in their drawers. I remember I was labeling a new intake, a John Doe from a highway accident, when the first sound came. A click, like metal sliding against metal. I froze, looked up. It came from the far wall, the row of refrigerated compartments. Another click, louder this time, like someone was slowly sliding one of the drawers open from the inside. Now, I'd worked there long enough to know those things are sealed tight, heavy stainless steel latches. Once closed, they don't move unless someone outside pulls the handle. I told myself it was the temperature shift. Metal expands, contracts, that kind of thing. So I ignored it. Then it happened again. Click. Kriak. This time I saw it. Drawer 9, third from the bottom, shifted open an inch. Just an inch, but enough to catch the fluorescent light along the edge of the handle. "Glenn," I called out, even though I knew he wasn't back yet. My voice echoed against the tile. No answer. The sound of rain grew heavier, slapping against the basement windows. I wiped my hands on my coat, walked closer, trying to convince myself it was just air pressure. Maybe the power flicker had messed with the seal, but as I reached for the handle, I heard it. A soft breath, coming from inside the drawer. I stumbled back so fast I hit the metal table behind me. My clipboard clattered to the floor. Number. That couldn't be. The body in drawer 9, an elderly man, massive stroke, had been dead for nearly 3 days. Autopsy done, paperwork filed. I told myself to open it, prove to my brain there was nothing there. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking, and then the drawer started sliding out, slowly, on its own. I just stood there, heart hammering in my throat, as the drawer came halfway out and stopped. The sheet over the body shifted slightly, like something underneath had moved. That's when Glenn came back, holding his coffee. "Jesus, man, what are you doing?" "Drawer 9, I whispered. It moved. He frowned, walked over, and yanked the sheet back halfway. The body was there, pale, still, eyes stitched shut. Nothing unusual. Glenn gave me that "you need sleep" look, pushed the drawer back in and latched it. "You're hearing things again," he said, "but I know what I heard." And later that night, when we were closing up, we found something on the floor by that same drawer. A toe tag, old, yellowed, the name smudged out. Thing is, every tag we used was white, printed fresh every shift. That one looked decades old. Glenn thought maybe it got stuck to his shoe earlier, fell off, but the string on it was still tied. We threw it away, tried to laugh it off. I clocked out around 2 a.m. and drove home through the storm, still thinking about that breath, that sound of metal sliding. The next morning, the hospital called. They asked if I'd seen Glenn. He never clocked out. His car was still in the lot. Security checked the cameras. At 2:07 a.m., Glenn walks back into the morgue, alone. Looks like he's checking something near the drawers. He opens number 9, just a few inches, leans forward. Then the camera flickers, and he's gone. Just gone. The footage after that shows nothing but the drawer, still slightly open. And if you listen close, you can hear it, faintly, like breathing. They sealed drawer 9 shut after that, replaced the whole unit. But every once in a while, when the night shift gets quiet and the rain hits hard enough to drown the hum of the lights, someone swears they hear a click, and if you listen too long, it sounds like someone's whispering from inside. Don't ever ignore a sound like that, because sometimes the dead don't stay where you put them.